The saddest and most painful thing in the world is nothing but death. No one is unaware of it, and no one can avoid it. Hence, the compassionate world-honored one spontaneously introduced the Pure Land Dharma, teaching people to recite the Buddha's name truthfully and seek rebirth in the West with true faith and earnest vows. It should be noted that to be reborn in the West, you have to be mindful of the Buddha with your last thought. At the same time, Lotus friends have to help with chanting the Buddha in line with the Dharma. However, families and relatives usually do not know how to help recite the Buddha's name and deliver the deceased's consciousness to be reborn in the West and enjoy peace and happiness forever. Instead, they cried and shouted sadly, pushing the deceased's consciousness into the three realms of hell, hungry ghosts, and animals to suffer, which is the most miserable. Now, I would like to quote the following fact about the Buddha's chanting for rebirth in the West. 10 years ago, the Lotus friend Dong Liang Lai told me a miracle about rebirth. He said, near his home, there is a sister Ayu who is 68 years old. She is illiterate and can only recite the Buddha's name truthfully. She has a daughter and a son-in-law. She participates in both the spring and autumn 7-day Buddhist assembly at Lingshan Temple. Seeing that both male and female practitioners are wearing robes with wide sleeve, and they look solemn and neat, one day she said to his son-in-law, "Can you take this gold ring to sell it for me?" The son-in-law asked her, "You don't need much money, so why are you selling the ring?" She replied, "I would like to have a robe, and I will wear it to the 7-day Buddhist assembly." The son-in-law asked her, "How much does a robe cost?" "I will do it for you. You don't need to sell the gold ring." Sister Ayu said, "It costs 200 new Taiwan dollars. On the first morning of the Buddhist assembly, Sister Ayu took a bath and wore the new robe, and planned to burn incense and candles first, worship the Buddha statue in her home, and then go to Lingshan Temple for the assembly. At that time, a nearby Lotus friend named Sanmei got up early and came to ask her to go to the assembly together. Ayu said, "Sanmei, you go ahead. I will worship the Buddha at home first." After Sanmei left, Ayu, dressed in robe, happily knelt down and bowed 3 times to the Buddha. She raised her head, looking up at the holy statue, and saw the 3 holy statues was spinning. At the same time, the incense in the incense burner also spun. The more she thought about it, the more strange it became, and the more she looked at it, the more it spun. You couldn't figure out why. She didn't take off her robe and went to the homes of some neighbors and invited them to come and take a look. "Why are the 3 saints of the West and the incense burner in my house all spinning around?" Several Lotus friends followed her home to take a look, and they all said that there was no such thing. After the Lotus friends said in unison, they did not hear reply from Ayu. When looking back, they saw that Sister Ayu were standing motionless, with her hands clasped together, and she had passed away with a smile on her face. The Lotus friends immediately recite the Buddha's name for her, taught her family not to cry and help recite the Buddha's name together, also asked her son-in-law to go to Lingshan Temple and invite Sanmei to come and help with chanting. When her son-in-law went to the temple and met Sanmei and told her, "My mother has been reborn to the West. Can you help with chanting?" She was stunned and couldn't believe it, because she just saw Ayu in the morning and asked her to participate in the assembly in the temple together. Later, I inquired Sanmei about this miracle of ascending to the West by myself, and she proved that it was true and not a bit false.